Hello, I'm Ajani and welcome to Ignite New Voices with RJ Ignite. I am Ajani Zanea, but I also go by Aji. I am a communications and media professional, so I do many different things within the community, along with content creation, graphic design, strategy and branding. In addition, I work in advocacy and I help people bring their voices to light. So things like you're seeing right now here with campaign management, that's my expertise. I identify as a Black queer woman who is very passionate about advocacy, communications, and making sure that people are heard. I'm an academic, or as you could say, a scholar. So I really feel like that is important to how I communicate to my people. It is essential for me to be able to educate my community along with others about ongoing injustice, provide them with new information that can allow them to find liberation for themselves, and to really make sure that our stories are narrated and are told. So being an artist, being a creative, someone who really finds passion in bridging these different communities together is really at the core of all that I do. It's always been at the core of what I do, and truly is what I'm passionate about. I'm driven by freedom. I'm driven by liberation. I'm driven by this dream that we can really all have the things that we desire. I don't think that we should exist within scarcity, and I think that it's really important for us to dream of the future and to imagine a future and then create it. Because it's one thing to think that you can do something and then actually do it. And I want to be a pivotal role to show people that they can do it too. I want to be at the center of platforming other people's voices and making sure that they're heard. And I think that it's truly like a gift for me to be able to articulate how we connect and to really be able to showcase like our talents and our pains and even just recover our history and things that are not always told. So that's really what keeps me passionate. That's what keeps me involved, and to know that there are going to be generations to come that will continue that, but then to also remember and to uplift and to encourage the remembrance of all those who came before us, because at some point that will be us too. Currently, many of the projects that I work in have to do with communications and advocacy. So I assist in developing academic curriculum that teach people about media literacy, understanding how propaganda impacts community members, and being able to decipher information that is being presented to you. Additionally, I teach workshops to students and community members about advocacy in media and how we can use design to articulate what we are passionate about. I'm really excited about that. I work on creative projects within my own personal artistic practice that highlight the past, the present, and how those fuse. I really enjoy using pop culture and Black references or just African diasporic experiences within my art to showcase different realities that we experience. And much of my work is related to reproductive justice because I take a lot of these large conceptual or even just academic language that can be dense, and I make it palatable and I make it easily accessible to the public. So some of the projects that I might work on is sex education and understanding what consent looks like. It can look like highlighting how Black history is relevant to today and making infographics about that. It can also look like me holding institutions accountable and asking the right questions that we typically see in DEI and critical race theory, which is currently being challenged at the moment. And so I really just position myself within these spaces to make sure that our people are remembered and to make sure that we have our rights continued, and if they are being pushed against, that we can find space to continuously advocate for them. Much of the work I do intersects with reproductive justice principles because it really makes sure that people understand why it matters and why we need it. I make it accessible to the common individual, which is important when they really attack our policies with language that is not easily understandable. And then I summarize research that is relevant to sex work, to body positivity, to health, especially because of my background in public health. I found that was my avenue in towards communications. As someone who started off wanting to pursue medicine, I just noticed how inaccessible it was, how they didn't really break down the language for people to understand and spread the knowledge that was being developed. And I want to be a part of that, and I am a part of that change, and I'm a part of getting the information to the people. And so I think it's relevant, I think it's important, because if there's so much information out there but we can't understand it, then what's the point? Reproductive justice means the opportunity to imagine a future. And I think it's just as simple as that. Reproduce, if we break down to the simplest form, is to produce again. If we cannot have a future to reproduce in that we enjoy, then what's the point of all of this? And I think it's really important for people to understand that reproductive justice is not just abortion access. It's not just the typical healthcare discussion that we like to have. It's beyond that. It's access to safe spaces. It's being able to enjoy your community. It's being able to have fresh air to breathe and live in. And reproductive justice should be a concern for everyone, because if it wasn't for reproducing, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't exist. A future where reproductive justice is fully realized would have to actually be recognizing the importance of the future, recognizing the importance of people and not just fetuses. Really making sure that we understand that we as a community have a responsibility to one another. Reproductive justice is, as I was saying before, everything that encompasses a healthy quality of life. And so in order for us to make that progression towards a future for all of us to find enjoyment and fulfillment in, we have to really start understanding the disparities and wanting to fill in the gaps and make sure that we are pushing past the differences that currently separate us. We are people first, and that's humanity. Finding healing in that, it is important to understand that is reproductive justice. The current threat to reproductive justice for marginalized communities is the fact that we are not in spaces to be heard and to have authority and power over policies that currently dictate our life. And so, as simple as it is, the change to make the progression and to see what we want is to be in those spaces, is to be in a position of leadership alongside that, because I already understand you can't dismantle the system with their tools. But I think that when we really recognize how community works and comes together regularly, we can start just being the change we want to see. Being a part of this cohort is an example of that. We have leaders who are coming together. As you have seen in these interviews, there are many people within my community already doing the work. It's really funding them. It's putting the support behind them and making sure that more people are understanding the significance that this has. To all those that are wanting to better support reproductive justice movement, show up. Find community members, find organizations that are currently working on initiatives in your community and abroad. We need as many resources as we can get. Honestly, that can look like monetary donations, That can look like sanitary product donations. That can look like sharing initiatives that are currently in your community. Making sure that you show up to vote for those who are in office or currently moving towards a better future that encourages reproductive rights. That looks like hiring. That looks like hiring marginalized communities in leadership positions to have their voices acknowledged and heard in spaces that they can only advocate for. Because advocacy doesn't always look like being at the forefront. Advocacy can look like putting the person who actually is going through it and understands and is willing to correct and hold accountable in charge. So oftentimes, for me at least, I can say, making sure that I can be in the spaces and supported in those spaces to uplift my community is very relevant, and that is support. I'm tired of seeing the same people at the forefront. I'm tired of seeing the same people on the boards. I'm tired of seeing the same people as these leaders in our communities, when really they all belong to the same old white male. No. Essentially, yeah. Show support by actually letting us show up in these spaces. Wellness is relevant to the work that I do because honestly, I am a huge advocate for it. Whether that is me explaining these public health and wellness concepts and breaking them down and making sure that more people understand them, or if it's me telling people actively in my experience in creating boundaries. That's even how I have to create space for myself in doing this advocacy work. It can get very daunting being someone who's always at the forefront. It can be honestly exhausting. I'm tired of being tired, if you know, you know. But I feel like through creating space and holding space for others and showing people how you can have balance and making sure that you're placing those very, very necessary boundaries within your work and health relationship, that's important. I do my best to stay consistent in that, but I also show myself grace when I'm not, because I'm going to be for real. I can get caught up in my work. As someone who's very passionate about what I do and it naturally comes easy to me, I am always on a fast-paced movement when I think like, oh, this is what I can do, this is what I can do, and I can help. But I'm not meant to be Superwoman. I can't do it alone, and asking for help and asking to hold space or for others to hold space for you is very, very important to how I keep myself balanced. If you want to know some more specific things I do, I dance. I dance in the mirror. I dance at classes. I participate in arts. I think it's very therapeutic to express creativity, and sometimes my creative expression does hold these systems accountable and includes different aspects of our experiences, but it helps me maintain my sense of wellness and make sure that I'm staying balanced without putting too much pressure to always perform and show up, because I'm not interested in that anymore. And then really, like I said, boundaries and holding people accountable is essential, and that's not easy. You might not even be liked if I'm being very, very truthful, but it's knowing who I am and being confident in that, and it's reassuring to know that I cannot be bought. I cannot be persuaded out of who I am and what I am willing to stand for or kneel for. So, yeah, in terms of wellness overall within balance of advocacy, it's making sure that you know who you are so that you can show up consistently at that and not overgiving what you don't have to share. If I could give one suggestion on how you could support reproductive initiatives, I would honestly tell you to read. Read more. Learn more. Take more time out of your day to step outside of your current situation to educate yourself on what is going on. Oftentimes, they are trying to limit our access to information so that we don't have the tools to equip ourselves for liberation. It is essential that you go out and find as much as you can to learn as much as you can wherever that may be. And it doesn't have to cost. It doesn't have to be at your top university. It could be at your local library. It could be the newspaper. It could be on your phone, whether you have access to internet or not. You can ask a friend to share a resource, but please read more, because honestly, they're doing their best to take away our power to learn, and I would hate to see that happen. I can be found at Ajani on Instagram if you want to be more invested into my creative career, because I do creative direction. I'm a stylist along with a poet. If you want to follow me on a more professional note, you can find me on LinkedIn at Ajani Powell. I also have a website, ajisfits.com. That is my business, Ajisfits, AJISFITS.com.